Most gardeners grew up believing that when a fruit tree starts slowing down, it's because the weather has turned or the tree is simply getting older. But here's the turning moment many people never hear. Potted fruit trees rarely decline because of age at all. They decline because the pot creates hidden stresses that build up quietly over time. The roots tighten, the soil shifts, the airflow changes, and the tree begins to struggle in ways that aren't visible at first glance. And none of this means you've failed. You've given your tree years of watering, pruning, and patient care. It deserves to thrive, and once you understand these hidden stresses, you can turn things around far more easily than you might think. Stick around, because you're about to discover simple, practical solutions designed specifically for older gardeners who want healthy trees without constant bending, heavy lifting, or complicated routines. These mistakes aren't obvious, even to people who have been growing plants for decades, and that's exactly why fixing them brings such powerful results. And at the end of this video, I'll share a gentle revival mix that can wake up a tired potted fruit tree in a matter of weeks, especially helpful for anyone working with limited space or mobility. Welcome to Golden Garden Days. I'm John, and I'm glad you're here with me. This channel is a calm corner of the gardening world made especially for seniors who want to keep growing with confidence and joy. Whether your mornings are getting cooler or your porch feels a little quieter these days, your potted fruit trees can still thrive beautifully with the right care. So let's take this slowly and step by step. Imagine brushing your hand across the soil or gently tilting a pot to check its weight. We're paying attention to the little details, the quiet signals your tree has been giving you. Those small truths will guide everything we do next. Mistake 1. Treating potted fruit trees like houseplants. Many gardeners bring their potted fruit trees indoors the moment the air turns cool, believing it's the safest way to protect them from seasonal changes. It feels natural, especially for seniors who have spent years caring for indoor plants and know how vulnerable they can be. But fruit trees aren't houseplants, and treating them like one can cause slow, silent problems that only show up weeks or months later. When a fruit tree is moved indoors too early, the environment shifts dramatically. The air becomes still, the light weakens, and the tree loses the outdoor cues it relies on to stay strong. Airflow is one of the biggest losses. Without gentle outdoor movement, moisture sits on leaves longer, branches don't strengthen, and the tree becomes more susceptible to stress that doesn't happen outside. Another issue is the change in light quality. Even bright indoor rooms rarely match what a tree gets outdoors, and for seniors who depend on visual cues rather than intensity readings, it's easy to assume a room is sunny enough. But fruit trees need broad, even light from above, not light from the side like a window provides. Indoors, the tree begins to stretch toward whatever light it can find. Over time, this creates weak growth and fewer blooms. The soil is also affected by the indoor environment. Heaters dry the air, causing uneven moisture in the pot. Some gardeners water too often because the top looks dry, while others water less because the pot is out of sight. Either way, the roots become stressed by these shifts. Emotionally, this mistake often comes from a good place, a desire to protect something you've nurtured. For seniors especially, a plant can feel like a small companion, and bringing it indoors feels like offering comfort. But fruit trees depend on outdoor signals, cooler nights, gentle breezes, and gradual temperature changes that strengthen their natural rhythm. Removing those cues too soon can confuse the tree and weaken its ability to set fruit. The good news is that this is an easy habit to adjust. Most potted fruit trees prefer staying outdoors until temperatures near true frost. They can handle more coolness than expected, especially when placed against a warm wall or sheltered corner. Protection doesn't have to mean bringing the tree inside. It can simply mean supporting it while letting it stay where it thrives best. Mistake 2. Using soil that's too heavy for aging hands. Heavy soil may feel sturdy and reliable, but in potted fruit trees it quickly becomes a hidden problem, especially for seniors. When the mix is dense, every watering session pushes it tighter, pressing out the tiny pockets of air the roots desperately need. Over time, this compacting creates a thick, heavy layer that roots struggle to move through. They can't stretch, breathe, or absorb nutrients the way they should. Even when the tree looks fine on the surface, the roots may be fighting for space and oxygen beneath the soil. What makes this mistake even more common for older gardeners is how the natural changes in hand strength, wrist flexibility, and watering rhythm influence how the soil behaves. When watering becomes slower or more controlled, as often happens with aging hands, the water sits longer on the surface before sinking in, pushing the soil down in a more forceful way. This extra pressure increases compaction and creates tight pockets where roots become stressed without showing clear warning signs. Another challenge comes during repotting or seasonal maintenance. Heavy soil mixes are physically harder to lift, shift, or loosen. For seniors managing arthritis, joint stiffness, or reduced finger strength, this makes tending the pot more difficult and discourages necessary adjustments. Many gardeners compensate by watering less frequently or avoiding deep checks, but that unknowingly leads to dry pockets and uneven moisture inside the container. Heavy soil also drains more slowly, keeping the roots sitting in water for longer than they should. Over time, this can lead to root fatigue, reduced fruiting, and sluggish growth, even when you're doing everything else right. The good news is that this mistake has a gentle, senior-friendly solution. Switching to a lighter soil blend makes care easier on both the tree and your hands. Blends with components like coconut coir, fine bark, pumice, or perlite give the roots more breathing room while staying light enough to handle comfortably. They drain evenly, prevent compaction, and help the tree grow stronger without extra effort. Pairing this with simple, easy-handled watering tools, lightweight pitchers, long spout cans, or soft grip nozzles, keeps the watering process smooth and less tiring. With lighter soil and tools that work with your hands rather than against them, your potted fruit tree has space to grow freely, and you can care for it without strain or discomfort. Mistake 3. The silent root strangulation. Inside a pot, a fruit tree can appear stable and well-behaved while a quiet problem forms underneath the soil. As the tree grows year after year, its roots begin circling the inside of the container, following the curve of the pot. At first the pattern is gentle, but as the tree matures those circles tighten. They wrap around themselves, press into the pot walls, and eventually create a dense ring that blocks the normal flow of air, water, and nutrients. This type of hidden constriction doesn't cause sudden or dramatic symptoms, which is why many gardeners assume the tree is slowing down due to age or changing weather. The truth is that the roots have simply run out of space, and the tree is doing its best to adapt to an environment that has quietly become too small. For seniors, this issue shows up more often because repotting can be one of the most demanding tasks in container gardening. Lifting heavy pots, bending at the waist, and loosening compacted soil all require strength and flexibility that may not feel as comfortable as they once did. Because of this, many gardeners postpone repotting for another season, then another, until several years pass without the tree being given new space. During that time the root circle becomes tighter, the soil becomes harder, and the tree begins sending subtle signals. Blossoms become fewer, the leaves lose some of their shine, branches seem slower to grow, and fruit may appear smaller or less frequent. None of these changes reflect poor gardening, only a lack of room. The positive news is that helping the tree does not require a full repot or heavy lifting. A gentle loosening can make a meaningful difference. Using a narrow trowel, fork, or even your fingers, lift and break apart the top layer of soil to introduce more air. If the pot is too heavy to move, slide it slightly to the side and tap the bottom to ease some of the compression. You can also gently tease apart any visible surface roots to reopen channels where water and oxygen can flow. These small, manageable actions allow the tree to breathe again and encourage healthier root function without the strain of a full transplant. Your tree is not fading because something is wrong with your care. It simply needs a bit more room to stretch and recover. Once the roots have some freedom, the tree often responds with brighter leaves, stronger growth, and better fruiting. If this insight is helpful, consider subscribing so you can continue learning practical, gentle methods that support your gardening journey. And feel free to share how long you've been growing potted fruit trees or which varieties have brought you the most joy. Mistake 4. Sunlight based on memory, not present reality. Many gardeners place their potted fruit trees in a familiar spot because it used to receive strong sunlight. For seniors who have tended the same spaces for years, it's easy to trust those memories. But sunlight doesn't stay the same. Trees grow taller and cast new shadows, neighboring buildings go up, fences shift, and even your own plants can create shade you didn't have before. The angle of the sun also changes throughout the year, and these gradual shifts can turn a once bright location into a space that only receives partial or filtered light. Because the change happens slowly, it's common to assume nothing has shifted, even when the tree begins showing signs of low light. A potted fruit tree depends on direct, consistent sunlight to maintain its strength and produce healthy fruit. When it's placed based on old habits instead of present conditions, it may begin to stretch toward the nearest bright area, lean to one side, or develop thinner, paler leaves. Some trees reduce their blossoms without warning or produce fruit that seems smaller or less flavorful. It's easy to misinterpret these signs as age-related decline or nutrient imbalance, but the real cause is often simply a location that no longer receives the direct light the tree needs. The tree isn't failing, it's adapting to conditions that have changed without drawing much attention to themselves. The helpful part is that seniors can check current sunlight levels without bending or lifting. A simple method works well. Place a small, easily visible object, such as a clip, a small piece of paper, or a light marker, near the pot early in the morning. Glance at it a few times throughout the day. If it spends most of the time in shade or the light looks softer than you remember, the tree may not be getting the 6 to 8 hours of daylight it needs. Another easy check is to observe where the shadow line falls at midday. If the tree sits behind that line instead of in open light, it's receiving less sun than you might think. If the tree needs a sunnier spot, sliding the pot rather than lifting it can make the adjustment manageable. Using a towel underneath, a small rolling stand, or a smooth tray reduces strain on the back and wrists. Even moving the pot a short distance can restore the light the tree depends on. Understanding that sunlight patterns shift is not an admission of neglect, it's simply acknowledging that nature changes. When you match your tree to today's light instead of yesterday's memory, it responds with stronger growth, healthier leaves, and more confident fruiting. Mistake 5. Watering with feeling instead of tools. Many gardeners rely on the familiar habit of checking soil with their fingertips, a method that worked well for decades. But as we age, fingertip sensitivity naturally decreases. After 60, it becomes harder to judge moisture accurately through touch alone. Soil that feels dry on the surface may still be damp underneath, and soil that seems moist may already be holding more water than the roots can handle. This small change in sensation can quietly lead to watering at the wrong time, either too soon or too late, without the gardener realizing it. A potted fruit tree depends on steady moisture in the root zone. The challenge is that the top layer of soil dries much faster than the deeper layers, and it can give a misleading impression when judged by touch alone. As a result, a gardener might water again before the roots are ready or wait too long because the surface feels slightly cool. Over time, inconsistent watering causes stress. Leaves can yellow, blossoms may drop, or roots may weaken from repeated cycles of excess moisture or unexpected dryness. These changes are often mistaken for nutrient problems or seasonal issues, when the real cause is simply guessing based on touch. Fortunately, this is one of the easiest mistakes to fix. A simple moisture tool removes the uncertainty without requiring bending or heavy effort. A basic moisture meter gives a quick reading, but even a bamboo stick works beautifully and is gentle on the wrist. Insert it into the soil and wait a few seconds. If it comes out clean, the tree needs water. If it comes out with damp soil stuck to it, the root zone still has enough moisture. This small step gives a clear, reliable answer and creates a steady watering rhythm that supports strong, consistent growth. Using tools isn't a sign of inexperience, it's a way to care for your tree with accuracy and comfort. It removes second-guessing and allows you to water with confidence. Letting the tool guide you brings more ease to the routine and helps your tree thrive with fewer surprises. Mistake 6. Underfeeding during the quiet months. When the weather cools and the garden feels quieter, many seniors naturally reduce or even stop feeding their potted fruit trees. It feels logical. If the tree isn't producing leaves or pushing new growth, it must not need much. But container-grown fruit trees follow a different rhythm than in-ground trees. Even when the branches look still, the roots continue working. They pull nutrients, strengthen internal tissues, and prepare for the next growing cycle long before spring arrives. When feeding stops during these slower months, the roots quietly run short on the nutrients they depend on. By early spring, the tree may begin the season already depleted, producing fewer blossoms, slower growth, or fruit that seems smaller or less vigorous. This habit often forms from decades of gardening experience. Many older gardeners learn to let the plants rest in winter. But a potted tree doesn't have access to deep soil layers rich with natural minerals. It depends entirely on what you provide. Over several months without feeding, the pot slowly empties of essential nutrients, even though the soil still looks full. The tree won't show dramatic distress, but subtle signs appear: pale new leaves, weak early shoots, or a reduced bloom set. These can easily be mistaken for age or weather issues when the real problem is simple undernourishment during the quiet season. The good news is that helping the tree through winter doesn't require heavy lifting or frequent activity. A gentle feeding routine is enough. A slow-release fertilizer can be sprinkled on top of the soil without bending deeply or moving the pot. It releases nutrients gradually, supporting the roots without demanding repeated applications. Another easy option is a diluted liquid feed added to a lightweight watering can. This approach provides a soft nutrient boost without overwhelming the tree or straining your hands. Feeding during the quieter months isn't about forcing growth, it's about steady support. It keeps the tree strong while the world outside rests and gives it the energy to respond quickly when warmth returns. A small, simple feeding rhythm in winter often results in noticeably stronger spring growth, healthier leaves, and more reliable blossoms. It's a gentle way to ensure your tree enters the new season prepared rather than struggling to catch up. Mistake 7. Ignoring microstress: wind, heat, and night chill. Balconies, porches, and patios may feel gentle during the day, but they often create small temperature swings that hit potted fruit trees much harder than gardeners realize. Concrete, walls, and railings absorb heat in the afternoon and release it quickly at dusk, causing the pot to warm up fast and then cool down just as quickly. These rapid shifts can stress the roots, even when the weather itself seems mild. Because a potted tree's roots are exposed on all sides, they feel these changes far more intensely than an in-ground tree, and over time the constant fluctuation can slow growth, weaken buds, and reduce fruit quality. Wind adds another layer of stress. A breeze that feels pleasant to you can dry the leaves and soil faster than expected, especially in elevated spaces like decks or balconies where airflow is stronger. The tree may rock slightly in the pot throughout the day, and while that movement seems small, it forces the roots to work harder to stay anchored. Over time, this can lead to leaf edges drying, blossoms dropping earlier than normal, or branches leaning toward one side. None of these signs point to poor care, they are simply responses to an environment that shifts more than it appears to. Night chill is the third hidden factor. Containers lose heat quickly after sunset, and the roots feel this drop long before the air feels cold to you. When a tree warms during the day and cools abruptly at night, its internal rhythm becomes unsettled. You might notice slower leaf development in spring, fewer blooms, or fruit that develops unevenly. These issues often come from temperature swings, not age or fertilizer. The good news is that reducing these microstresses doesn't require heavy lifting or complicated adjustments. Lightweight pot stabilizers keep the tree from shifting in the wind. Setting a small chair, screen, or planter nearby can soften strong gusts without adding weight. Reflective pot sleeves or light-colored wraps help prevent daytime overheating and slow nighttime heat loss. All of these supports are easy to place and remove, and they help create a steadier environment for your tree. When the surroundings feel more consistent, your tree can focus on growing instead of recovering. You'll often see healthier leaves, stronger blossoms, and more predictable fruiting simply by softening the temperature swings around the pot. There comes a point when a potted fruit tree begins to look tired, even after you've adjusted watering, light, and placement. The leaves may seem a bit dull, the soil may look flat and lifeless, and the tree just doesn't carry the same energy it once did. That's when the revival mix becomes a gentle but powerful reset. This blend focuses on giving the roots what they've been missing: air, freshness, and nutrients delivered in a way that doesn't require heavy lifting or complicated steps. The mix is lightweight, easy to scoop, and soft enough to work into the top layer of soil without straining your hands or wrists. It refreshes the pot from the surface downward, creating space for oxygen to flow and allowing the roots to wake up again. The beauty of the revival mix is that it doesn't require a full repot or any bending that might be uncomfortable. You simply sprinkle it across the top of the soil and gently work it in with your fingers or a small tool. Over the next few waterings, The blend settles naturally into the root zone. As it does, it reintroduces life into compacted soil, helps regulate moisture, and gives the tree a small but meaningful boost of nutrition. Many gardeners notice early signs of recovery within just a few weeks: brighter leaves, new shoots, or a more confident growing pattern. It's a simple act that gently supports the tree without demanding extra effort from you. Small, thoughtful changes can truly transform the health of your potted fruit trees. You don't need complicated routines or heavy tasks to make a difference. By adjusting how you water, where you place your tree, how you feed it during the quieter months, and how you manage the pot's environment, you create the conditions for sweeter, healthier fruit. These steps support the tree while also supporting your comfort and well-being. The goal isn't perfection. It's a peaceful, manageable way to garden that brings joy without strain. You haven't done anything wrong. Now you simply have a clearer understanding of what your tree has been asking for. If this guide brought clarity or a bit of inspiration to your day, feel free to like the video, subscribe for more gentle garden wisdom, and share it with someone who enjoys growing. And I'd love to hear from you. Which mistake surprised you most today? Or which one do you think might have been affecting your tree without you noticing? Your experiences help this community grow wiser together. Until next time, keep your hands in the soil, your heart in the garden, and your days golden.